The Automotive Supplier Park is one of the first automotive hubs in Africa. The facility currently houses both local and foreign investors in the automotive component manufacturing and suppliers of original equipment. The companies here produce car seats, doors, dashboards for major brands like BMW, Ford and Nissan. The park plans on bringing more investors to occupy the remaining large vacant space which is still not occupied.
The Automotive Supplier Park, the development of the park was divided into 5 phases. Currently we are at phase 1 and 2, which are complete, and 3, 4 and 5 are still to be developed. We are discussing with Treasury from a funding point of view. We're also discussing with some private sector companies that would like to come and invest in the park. So we are on a very aggressive growth path, where we're trying to attract investors that manufacture components to come into the park.
The AIDC says it also plans on bringing in a mix of local businesses as tenants.
So the support that government will provide is also to have a plan to set aside at least a portion of the new development for local manufacturing companies. I mean, if we go into the sectors of the battery manufacturing side, we also want to bring about local people to partner with international companies, but the ownership must primarily reside in the hands of South Africans.
To deal with the logistical bottlenecks faced by Transnet and occupy some of the remaining land, the AIDC is aiming to bring an inland port to the city of Tshwane.
What is thing is that we are looking at, together with the city of Tshwane and Transnet, to build an inland port where we will be transporting vehicles out of here, the Rosslyn area, to the coastal towns where we do the exports.
What we also hope to do with the expansion of the 100 hectares is that we'll have an inland port. And in an inland port, it's just to be able to facilitate our exports much more quicker.
With global vehicle brands slowly ramping up investment in the production of electric vehicles, component manufacturers at the facility remain optimistic that their products will still be in demand.
In this facility, we haven't moved to the greenfield facility yet with the renewable energy. On our other facility close to Fort, we've already started with that process. So yeah, I think we will definitely moving towards the green energy facility.
It's quite interesting, especially from a part storage point of view, to ensure that we are catering for EVs and the move towards EVs, especially the storage requirements when it comes to lithium-ion batteries. But yeah, I think we're on a journey. We've got a competency center that's specifically focusing on that.
The park started with only 2 factories and has since grown over the years with 13 factories on site, with a cumulative amount of 801 million rand injected into the park over the 20-year span. Mpumelelo Mapalala, SABC News, Johannesburg.
To unpack this a bit more further for us, we're now joined by Saki Zamxaka, Group CEO of the Gauteng Growth and Development Agency, and he joins us via our video link. Saki, thank you so much for your time this evening here in SABC News. Perhaps let's start off here. Maybe tell us more about this Automotive Supplier Park in Pretoria.
Good evening, Bali. Thank you. The Automotive Industry Development Center, the Supplier Park or Automotive Supplier Park as we call it, is, as you know, was celebrating 20 years today, but the main intention for it was to develop the local industry in South Africa to support the original equipment manufacturers that come outside of South Africa. So mainly the ones in Gauteng being Nissan, BMW and Ford. So really a lot of the suppliers we have there are people like the one we saw where Stephanis and company. They are producing car seats for the X1.
And how do you plan on attracting more sectors? Because I understand you wanted to expand and you wanted to grow as you celebrate 20 years. How do you plan on doing that exactly?
So the Currently, the supplier park has 160 hectares of land. Out of those 160 hectares of land, 60 hectares have been developed. So there still is opportunity to develop a further 100 hectares. The main requirement is bulk infrastructure to develop some of the areas, and of course to find companies who are willing to come and be part of the park. But most of them are part of the park because they fit in the value chain. Most of them will supply just in time and just in sequence, as they call it, for the vehicle manufacturers that are around. But we want to expand the park to what the province and the city of Tshwane called an automotive city, where it doesn't become just a manufacturing hub only, but you bring residential development and other things that can support livability in the park. So part of the development is to look at how you can contribute into the area in developing the community, that they benefit. On some of the new projects we're looking at, like green energy, how do you bring security of supply of energy into the area, of water, of energy, and a few other bulk services. So the development that is now the next phase of the park is to grow the automotive center as an anchor, but the idea is to bring other things that are supportive to it and also supportive for economic development.
How important is this automotive hub and the role it plays, especially towards driving the economy?
It's very important, Bali. Currently, Gauteng contributes about 34% of the exports of cars to the rest of the world, and that's mainly been to Europe. We're looking at a lot of that growth coming in South Africa and the rest of the continent. There's new vehicles that are being produced in the world using renewable energies. People are have been doing a lot on electric cars, but there's possibility of hydrogen fuel cars. But outside of passenger cars as well, there's heavy vehicles, trucks, and many others where there still is potential to grow, and especially in the rest of the African continent.
So far, how has the response been, especially with your call to other sectors to be part of this supplier park? How has the response been from other businesses?
There is quite a lot of interest. As I said, one of the main ingredients for it is the contribution of bulk infrastructure. So we need some of the partners in government, provincial government and local government, to come into the party. But there already are some developers in the area that have had interest. But there are other component manufacturers that have also expressed interest to expand in the park. So the interest does exist. It's the cost of development that is going to be required. And the benefit with it is that that the people who will come to the park when you put bulk infrastructure, that's an investment that would otherwise not have happened had that bulk not been there. So the social and economic development impact is very clear.
And are you hopeful that indeed, as you see this interest, that it will be able to expand even further?
Definitely. So we are doing the expansion plans. We generally plan over a 3 to 5 year cycle, and we hope that some of the new developments will still happen within the next 3 years.
All right, Saki, thank you so much for your time this evening here in SABC News. That is Saki Zamxaka, Group CEO of the Gauteng Growth and Development Agency.